Hey guys, welcome back to the Joy of Wrenching. My name is Les and I'm your friendly neighborhood mechanic. And today in the shop we've got this 2011 Toyota Tundra up on the lift. And the reason why it's up there is because we need to replace this. And this is the charcoal canister for the evap system. It's got a few valves on it that don't work. And unfortunately, you can't just replace the valves all the time. Sometimes the canisters themselves go bad. So I want to show you how quick and easy it is to swap one of these out. So the charcoal canister for this truck lives right back here behind the fuel tank and in front of your rear differential. And it's mounted up here underneath the bed. And it's got a few evap lines running into it, a few electrical connectors, and then it's bolted to this one cross member up here. So I want to show you how to get this thing out of here, and then we'll just slap the new one up in place, plug it all back in, and away we go. These connectors on these evap lines can be a little bit tricky. And so for these, as you notice, they're all wet. I sprayed them down with a little bit of WD-40. Since this is an area that gets a lot of dirt and dust, it's nice to spray these kind of connections with a little bit of WD. And what that does is it allows it to kind of moisten all of the dirt and everything, and it'll slide off easier. So let's just start with this one right here. It's got this little red tab. And all you got to do is get you a little pick or even your fingernails, whatever, underneath that red tab and pull it back. Let me get in here, sort of. You want to push both of them back at the same time. And then that'll allow that red tab to slide back out of the way. You don't have to completely take it off, but you can if you want. And it looks just like that. But you can just slide it back out of the way. And then all you got to do once it's slid back is just grab that hose. You want to kind of give it a little wiggle and pull it towards the front of the truck. And if you put a little WD on it, it helps it slide off. You can see it's just a little O-ring fit. And then we'll just set that aside. Now it's time to go to the next one. Now this next hose that we want to get off right here has a couple of little fingers underneath here that are holding on to the hose and catching it in place. And so what you got to do is you got to get some kind of tool in here, either a pick or a little bitty screwdriver, and you want to get those fingers off of that ledge. And then once you get those fingers off the ledge, you can pull back or forward on this hose, just the way we did with the other one. Let me show you. I'm going to try it with this little pocket screwdriver first. You can come in here and just get those little fingers loose, one at a time. There's one on either side. Come in here or pry it a little bit loose while you wiggle forward. There we go. And so what you're doing is you're getting these things and you're pushing them to the side. And the way you're doing it, you can see those things right there. You're getting your little pry tool in here and you're just pushing this back open, and that gets it off of this little ledge right here so that this can slide forward. Okay, our next connector is this electrical connector, and it's just got a squeeze connection. So you just pinch it just like any other connector and pull it backwards. So let me show you. Here's your little tab right here. You got to squeeze that tab in and pull it backwards. That's just a normal connector, and again, really makes it a lot easier if you get these things wet with some WD before you try this stuff, because this will be coated in road grit and dirt, and it just makes things a little bit harder to get apart that way. All right, so our next connection is there's a hose, a rubber hose right here that connects to the top. There's a little nipple here, and there's a little squeeze tab or squeeze connector, and you can just pinch that with your fingers and slide that back. And then you want to get that hose, give it a little twist so that it breaks its seal, and then slide it forward, and there you go. Now, all of these connections are undone. This one stays. That's part of the connector, or the part of the canister itself. And we're going to move to the back of the canister and take off a bracket. Okay, so the next thing that needs to come off of here is this bracket right here. It's just held on with one nut. It's a 12 millimeter. Once we get this off, we can swing it out of the way, and then we can unbolt the canister itself and remove it. Let's go ahead and take off that nut. Again, 12 millimeter. Just give it a loose. There it is. And then this bracket just slides out of the way just like that. And retain that nut because you're going to need it for the next canister. Now the only thing left is the canister itself. And it's held in place by 4 12 millimeter bolts. 2 on this side right here, bolting it up to this cross member, and 2 on this other side over here, also bolting it up to the cross member. So all we got to do is loosen those 4 and drop the canister. And the last one right here. Well, actually, look right over here, guys. Come over on this side and look right up here. You see this wiring loom here, this wiring harness? It's held onto the canister mounting bracket by one little plastic clip. So let me get that plastic clip out of the way so we don't have to worry with that. And so here's how we're going to get that clip out of here. We're just going to get us some needle nose and come in here on either side of that white tab and give it a squeeze just to compress those little fingers. Let me get under here, kind of, and then you're going to push up on the harness itself. Once you've compressed those little fingers, it should slide right back up through the hole that it's coming through. It's kind of an awkward place to do it, but there we go. All right. All right, so now everything should be detached from our canister, and we got one last bolt here that's holding it on. So we'll go ahead and loosen this and get it down. There we go. All right, and just like that, we got our canister out, and let's go over here to the bench and compare it to our new one. Here's our old canister, and here's the new one. And just want to make sure that all the connections look the same. We got this hose goes here, connection there with electrical connection. We got this vent valve over here, or this breather over here. It looks very much the same as far as the connections are concerned. Mounting points are the same. Other side here, we've got the same mounting point there. And so we're ready to go up with our new one. All right, so reinstallation is just a reverse of taking it out. So we'll go ahead and set it up in place just as it was. Line up our little holes in the frame where it mounts. There's also little, let me show you. There's also these little tabs right here. They go up into some little slots in the frame to orient this thing correctly. There's little holes up there in the frame. So you just want to put that, once you line up the holes, those little tabs will go where they're supposed to go too, so it's not too hard. I'm gonna go ahead and get these little bolts up there just to hold it in place, get them started by hand so we don't get them cross-threaded. All right, let me go get one sort of catty corner over here. Kind of an awkward angle, but we'll get her done. Okay. There we go. And let's get this fourth one started right here. Once we get them started, we can get our electric ratchet back out and get those tightened up. It would help if I could go in the right direction. That one. There we go. All right, next thing we want to do now that we got it mounted back to the bed cross member, we'll put this bracket back in place. And remember, it's just held on with this one nut. The nut I retained off of the old canister, but the bracket came with the new canister. There we go. So line that up, and it too has a little metal tab that goes into a little hole there, just for it to be oriented correctly. Let's get our nut started by hand. Come on. There you go. And then we'll tighten that up. There we go. All right, so let's get our lines back connected, just like we ended with this one on the last canister. We're going to start with it, putting it back together. So just slide it in place, and then take your little crimp here, squeeze it with your fingers or pliers if you have to. Just move it back into the place it was, and that's it. All right, we'll go ahead and put this electrical connector right on there. Push until you hear that satisfying click. So now let's go ahead and put this hose back on, and this red tab has to be in the correct position, okay? So the correct position is that it's on here with the red fingers facing towards the canister, and those red fingers have to go inside of, let me see if I can show you. Let me pull this thing completely off. Those red fingers have to go inside of the little clipping area, and then the clasp has to go on the outside. So see here, this red finger is inside, that one up there is not. It's going on the outside. If it goes on the outside, it will never catch. It'll never hold on. So you have to get yourself a little pick or a screwdriver or something, spread these apart just a little bit to get this red finger to go on the inside like that. There you go. So that is correct. Now you can slide it on and push this home, and it'll actually hold the hose in place. So slide this in place all the way forward, and then locks like that. There you go. The last hose that needs to be connected is this one, and it's an easy one because you just push it in place and it'll give you a satisfying click when it's in the right place. You may have to push and wiggle a little bit to get it to go all the way home. There you go. You heard that click. Just make sure that its little keepers are past the plastic ring that they hold on to. Okay. Hose connection, electrical connection, rubber hose connection, and one bracket. The whole thing is mounted securely, so this job is done. What? Did I forget something? Oh, the electrical harness that we forgot at the top. Thanks. Thanks, hon. She reminded me that we had one more thing left, and that was to push this electrical harness back down into its little hole, and it snaps into place. Now we can say that everything is done. So not too bad. That little red clip gave us a little bit of a fight, but I wanted to show you how to do that so you don't break it, because as you can imagine, it'd be pretty hard to find that little red clip when you break it. And if you don't have it, then that hose could slip off and you'll get all kind of evap codes and things and check engine lights. So this is not too terribly hard of a job. Shouldn't take very long. The part itself is quite expensive, so be sure that you test and make sure that you need one before you try and replace it. But this is it. Hope this was helpful. If you enjoyed this, consider hitting that like and that subscribe button for us. It really helps us to reach a greater audience. I hope it helped you out, and I hope to see you guys back here on The Joy of Wrenching again. Y'all have a wonderful day. God bless.